have a very simple yet direct question for you. What are you afraid of and why? I think that a lot of people these days who are being heralded as some of the most courageous among us aren't all that courageous at all. Instead, they just determine that what a lot of us are afraid of, they are not. They're afraid of something else. We live in a time where objective truth is being questioned, that it's courageous just to stand up and speak absolute truth, truths that we all know. If you take a moral stance on something that you have created in your mind or just we know to be a moral absolute, and you stand up for it, then sometimes that is actually like the most courageous thing one can do. And why is this? Why have we started to live in a society where it is courageous to just call out what all of us know to be true while others willfully deny it? Well, let's talk about the willful deniers. I think many people are going back to our ancestral roots where if you were shunned from the tribe, then that meant starvation. That meant you were out of the community and it could mean death. And we still to this day, we suffer from this. This is one of the reasons why it is such an important thing for all of us to be accepted, to get invited to the party, to be involved in the meetings and social gatherings at work. It's very important because there was once upon a time where if you were not accepted and brought into the fold, then you could literally die, and that is stuck with us. But you fast forward to today, and there's some people that are willing to risk being cast out of the tribe, that are willing to risk getting thrown out of polite society. And why? I think it's because these are people that have determined that they are afraid of something greater than their neighbor not inviting them to the party. They are willing to sacrifice their job, their vocation, their reputation, because they're afraid of something different. Now, I want to read to you something. This is the first Bible verse that I ever taught my daughters, and it's from the book of Proverbs, and it reads this. It's Proverbs 1:7 if you want to look it up. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. So, as a believer as a Christian, I believe that there is a greater power, that greater power being God, the creator of the universe. And that is where my fear should lie. And I'm struck by the fact that a lot of people say the exact same thing. They agree with me. They go to church, but yet their actions show that they're much more fearful of their fellow man. Even in the slightest of moments where they won't be honest. And I fall into this too. By the way, I'm not pure on this. There have been times where I have withheld an absolute truth because I had a fear of hurting someone's feelings. Seems like a noble endeavor. However, I have to determine for myself, am I going to be more fearful of an individual, a human being, or am I going to be more fearful of God, something much greater? Whenever you fall into this trap of not being afraid of the right thing, then what you will do is you will allow yourself to lose yourself in a non-reality. We're so afraid of being cast out of the tribe that we will go along and we will be afraid of our fellow man to the point where all of a sudden, the things that we overlook, the things that we accept, the truths that we deny become so great that society can crumble, and we watched it all along. Don't believe me? How do you think Nazi Germany came into play? Do you think every single German just didn't know what was going on? Just didn't see it? No. They knew, but the problem was they were afraid of the wrong thing. And being afraid of the wrong thing long enough allowed a absolute horrific individual to come to power. You see, the people that are wise enough to be afraid of the right things, they don't have to worry about being afraid of the wrong things. They've chosen a life that says, yes, there are a lot of things that we can be afraid of, but there are some that deserve a higher priority than others. I'm reminded of Shakespeare's Henry V. I believe that's where this comes from, where the line is, a coward dies 1,000 deaths, a hero only once. You see, the courageous individual decides what is worth fear. And sometimes not being afraid of the things that everyone else is afraid of makes you look incredibly courageous. But essentially, it's not that you're not afraid, but it's how much priority you put on the fear. And whenever the scales of fear come into play, what are you going to be more afraid of? Are you going to be afraid of losing your reputation, losing your job, people not liking you, not inviting you to the parties? Or are you going to be afraid of something much more worthy? Are you going to only have fear that one time when it really matters, when the real battle comes? Or are you going to be fearful of 1,000 deaths every day? You're afraid. And so you tell a little white lie here and there. You cut corners, embellish your resume because you're fearful of not getting the job. You're fearful of not getting the financial reward. You're fearful of what people may think of you. You're fearful of the wrong things. Each and every one of us must determine what is the one thing above all else that we are afraid of. Is it going to be pleasing a higher power greater than all of us? Or is it going to be coming down to earth and only being fearful each and every day of all the silliness of man and this vapor of a life that we're all going to live for maybe, if we're lucky, about 80 years? I think it's incumbent upon all of us to determine to sit down and truly contemplate, what am I afraid of? When you can truly determine, are you going to be so fearful that you're going to believe what you know not to be true because out of fear? Or are you going to fear something greater? Are you going to have the courage to fear something greater, knowing that if you continue to be afraid of these little things, these little untruths, these denials of absolute reality, that this is going to lead to something that we should all be much, much, much more afraid of? So my encouragement today on this Wisdom Wednesday is just to do this. First, seek wisdom and don't flee from it. Look for wisdom more than anything else. Choose the right things to be afraid of versus those little silly things that in the end, if you give them too much power for too long, before long, there will be something much, much worse that we should all fear that may rear its ugly head because we didn't decide to be afraid of the right things all along. I hope you have an incredible day. Enjoy this Wednesday and the rest of your week. I'm Jason Wright, and I'm out. Hey, thank you so much for listening to the show. It means more to me than you can possibly imagine. And if you enjoyed it, please consider going out to Apple and leaving us a 5-star rating. That would mean the world to me. Also, follow me on Insta at Jason Wright Now. And don't forget, download the Vitruvian Lab app. I mean it. I want to be your personal peak performance trainer. I want to help you improve always and always. Lastly, check out my newsletter, the Vitruvian Letter. You can subscribe at jasonwrightnow.com. And until we meet again, please continue to endeavor to improve always in all ways. I'm out.